Hello, Kay Kantas from Author Assist here. I'm reading a small excerpt from a young adult magical fantasy called The Rite of Wands by Mackenzie Flohr. I hope you enjoy. Cara Forest, the Kingdom of Andalay. Cara Forest, full of old and young trees, spread across the vast lands and the borders of Asserley and Glendalough. The forest was known for the deep red leaves of its trees. The buzz of insects and scurrying of small animals filled the air. Most of the area remained unknown since the thickness of the trees and uneven paths made it difficult to explore. Nevertheless, the forest was favoured as a hunting place for the king and his royal hunting party. "Be on your guard, we do not know what may be in there," Dior said from his horse, before proceeding further. He reached into his tunic and pulled out a binoc, lying it against his chest. Noticing the necklace, Orland uttered, "Your Grace is wearing your necklace your father gave yous." "Aye. Do you have a problem with that warlock?" Dior asked in disgust, and when Orland didn't respond, he said, "I didn't think so." After following an uneven dirt path with various twists and turns, Dior stopped suddenly and raised his hand in caution when they heard what sounded like an animal's shriek. "What was that?" Andreas asked. "Whatever it was came with the west," Orland replied. "Follow me." Dior grabbed hold of his reins and urged the horse to gallop faster. 10 minutes the party stopped again when they came upon a blood in the dirt. Dior jumped down from his horse to investigate. "Animal blood," he said, investigating further at the path. "There's a trail." Getting back on his horse, he slowly followed the blood. He stopped when he noticed the drops were getting bigger and closer together. "We are approaching the creature. I suggest we tie our horses off and proceed the rest of the way on foot. Keep an eye on your back. I gather we are not alone." The party walked up the path a short way when Dior stopped. He could hear the animal whispering. Raising his fingers to his lips to instruct the others to remain quiet, before searching to the right of the path, he saw a patch of brown fur and white stripes with spots. Upon further investigation, he concluded it was a fallow deer, and by the size of its antlers, it was 5 or 6 years old. An arrow protruded from its side, and the animal was bleating loudly. Its eyes were wide with fright and pain. Dior sighed and muttered to the ground as he approached the creature. He knelt down near the deer's head, withdrew his dagger, and gently lifting the animal's head, he said, "Forgive me. A swift death is a good death." He slits its throat. All members of the party turned to look when they hear a whooshing of an arrow as it flew past Dior and landed on the ground beside him. Dior stared at the arrow before him before noticing a young man standing a few feet away, dressed in a simple tunic. Realizing he had just been seen, Johann quickly lowered his bow. "Brigand!" Dior called out angrily, releasing his sword Ruha from its sheath before charging. Preston, another brigand, jumped down from the branch of the tree. Andreas was standing beside, stabbing him with in the side with his dagger. "Andreas!" called Dior, stopping when he heard the guards cry in pain. Preston proceeded to kick Andreas in the stomach, knocking him to the ground. Gavin, still hiding in another tree, readied his bow and arrow and targeted Dior before pulling back the string. "Galop prosigo!" shouted Orland as he ran towards Dior, knocking the arrow down before it was able to hit the king. Dior gasped. He glared towards the direction the arrow came from, quickly pulling a star knife from underneath his belt, which hung around him. He flung it at Gavin in an attempt to dislodge him. Dior watched as Gavin tumbled from the tree onto the ground, his neck pierced. "Galuprisilo!" Orland shouted again, startling Dior in order to protect him from yet another of Johann's arrows. Orland quickly raised his wand again. "Volbivon!" They watched as Johann was sent flying backwards, hitting the ground hard, and appeared to have lost consciousness. Preston stood over Andreas, the guard sword in the brigand's hand. its blade touching the edge with its neck. Andreas glanced at the man's eyes. Preston pressed the blade edge slightly into Andreas' neck until there was the beginning show of blood. One swing of the sword and everything would be over. There was no hesitation in Preston's face. Andreas swallowed hard, closed his eyes, ready to admit defeat. So I hope that's got you really excited to want to go out and read the rest of The Rite of Wands by Mackenzie Flohr. Pop over to Amazon now and take a look at the book. Thank you for listening.